And with me now to preview those A-League matches is Paul Norwood, a Sydney FC fan. Now, Paul, I have to say, it is great to have you back. Now, lots of action, lots of big matches, and lots of nice derbies to look forward to. You must be really excited.
This season has been phenomenal. They thought that last year was the breakout season. I think this season has delivered so much more. We have 18,000 strong crowds on average across all stadiums, and they're actually getting more on average than the championship in the UK. So the fans are getting behind it. William Gallas has just signed with Perth Glory, so the Stars are rocking up. So it's it's exciting, and it's a big weekend.
All right, let's look at the first Melbourne-Sydney derby. It is Melbourne Heart going up against Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, Melbourne Heart, well, struggling a little bit actually. Make things worse, Harry Gould is out with an ankle injury. What can we expect from this match going up against Western Sydney Wanderers? I mean, last year's premiers.
Well, you know, the first 30 minutes of last week's game against Brisbane Roar, they were impressive. They really took it to Brisbane Roar. Their speed in attack really, I guess, played havoc with the Brisbane Roar defence. So I'm expecting them to come out firing. I think they're going to be disappointed that they didn't finish the job last week against Brisbane Roar, and they will come out firing. Ian Ramsey, Williams, Duganzik, they're quality players, and I really think that they will trouble the tall, big men defensive line that the West Sydney Wanderers have. Michael Beecham, Nicola Topor-Stanley, they're about 7'2" each. They're big guys. But at the end of the day, I can't see them carrying on with the job against West Sydney Wanderers. They're at home, but look, West Sydney Wanderers, they're a class side, they're a confident side. Tommy Jurek is on fire up front, scored 2 goals last week, beautiful goals last week. So I really, it'll be an interesting game, it'll be an entertaining game, but I do expect West Sydney Wanderers to run away with it.
All right, so that's your pick for the first Melbourne Sydney derby. Let's go on to the other one, the teams that are taking part in the original Melbourne Sydney derby, and it is your team, Sydney FC, going up against Melbourne Victory. After their win against Newcastle on opening day, Sydney FC have gone on. I don't mean to rub this in, but we've gone on to lose 3 matches. And at that point, we actually talked about it. We thought that actually Frank Farina had done everything right, had rebuilt the team just right, and were looking good for the season, looking to be title challengers. What has gone wrong?
Look, I think it's a big confidence issue, I believe. Del Piero hasn't played much football this season, and I think they're a different team without Del Piero. We did speak about how much reliance they have on Del Piero, and I think it is significant. He is back this week, he's fully fit this week, we've been told, so I am confident of a good showing. They last week were unlucky against Perth, an early penalty that was given away that should never have happened, and then that really gave them a bit of a kickstart, and they dominated the Perth Glory in Perth, created multiple chances, but unfortunately couldn't put any in the back of the net. But
no, this weekend in the derby, they'll be coming up against an undefeated Melbourne Victory side, but Melbourne Victory have suffered a setback. I mean, they've lost Ange Postecoglou, who's going on to be the national coach of the Socceroos. Do you think that's going to be a big impact on the team in this match?
Not in this match. I don't think so. In steps Kevin Muscat, former staunch central back, hard man of the Melbourne Victory Club, and played there for many seasons. And he was that inspirational captain for many years, and took them to a couple of premiership victories. I think he has the player group behind him. I think they'll want to perform for Kevin Muscat, and I think he will have that commitment. And you know, he's the type of guy that if you don't give him that commitment, he will beat you with the stick. So I think they will really come out, and they're class all over the field. They've got a strong side, they work well together, and this season they have had some good wins, and they've been looking fairly impressive. All
right, Paul, let's move on to the big match on Sunday, and it is last season's champion Central Coast Mariners going up against the current leaders Brisbane Roar. Now, the Central Coast Mariners, they have looked pretty okay, but they haven't managed to seal off the win. I mean, they've only had 1 win and then moved on to 3 draws. What do you think is the problem for the Mariners? Why aren't they able to cap off the games with a win?
I wouldn't write them off yet. I think Graham Arnold, the coach, has a great policy of bringing youth through the ranks, and I think he has been trialling a few younger players on that side. They were unlucky last week. There were 2 horrible goals. Justin Patchfield, the goalkeeper for Central Coast Mariners, basically let one roll over his foot, and that was a big error. But they still had the composure to come back after being 2-0 down early on to bring 2 goals back and draw the match against the Jets last week. They have Daniel McBreen coming back from China. China after a stint in China, and he is a fantastic forward. And I think he'll really give them more strike power up front. But unfortunately, they've just lost Maglici and Storm Rowe, who are on international duty with New Zealand playing Mexico in the World Cup qualifiers. So look, I think they will still be thereabouts at the end of the season. I just think they need a bit of a run of luck. And they'll be contenders.
All right, their opponents for this weekend, we're talking about Brisbane Roar, of course, and they look great. I mean, they are the current leaders in the A-League right now, and they look fantastic going forward. But knowing that Central Coast Mariners is a solid counter-attacking side, how do you think Brisbane Roar is going to set themselves up for this game?
It's difficult. Mike Mulvey, the coach, I think has really done a great job of pushing his defence forward. Matt Smith, the captain at central back in particular, he's really been able to move forward and create that extra attacking option for the midfielders and for the strikers. I think Matt Smith scored 2 or 3 goals this year. Coming up against a team like the Central Coast Mariners, who are renowned for the counter-attack, if they pick the wrong moment to push forward, the Central Coast Mariners will punish them. So it's going to be an interesting tussle. The Roar have impressed me the most this season. They still haven't got their key marquee striker, Beshat Barisha, back, but they're scoring goals. They scored a hatful last week. They scored a hatful 2 weeks before. It's going to be a great game.
All right, earlier on for the first Melbourne-Sydney derby that we talked about, you did pick the Wanderers to win that match. Now, how about the other one? Bearing all loyalties aside, we're talking about the second Sydney-Melbourne derby. Who do you think is going to take the match?
If there's any Sydney FC supporters watching this, they're not going to like this. So look, I think Sydney will put in a better showing. I think they'll be very competitive. Victory, when they turn up in Sydney, have a habit of kicking us while we're down. I'm predicting 1-0 to the Victory.
This is the second time you do know that you've predicted against your team.
And I got the last one right.
All right, and the final one for Sunday. The big match, Central Coast Mariners against the Brisbane Roar.
I don't like picking draws. It's the closest I would come to picking a draw, but I think Brisbane Roar will win that game, and I'm thinking 2-0.
All right, thank you very much, Paul.
Great, thank you.
Well, that's all the time we've